He was charming. He was handsome. He seemed like a completely normal guy. No one suspected that Ted Bundy was a monster hiding in plain sight. Behind his friendly smile was a cold-blooded killer. Bundy's name is synonymous with evil. He was one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. Bundy's reign of terror shocked the nation. He shattered the illusion that monsters lurk in dark alleys. Bundy proved that evil can hide behind a charming facade. Bundy's story is a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Ted Bundy's early life was marked by secrecy and instability. He was born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, was unmarried. Bundy's biological father's identity remains uncertain. Some sources suggest he was a war veteran. Others point to a man named Jack Worthington. Bundy spent his early years living with his grandparents in Philadelphia. They raised him as their son. His mother posed as his older sister. This deception was designed to avoid the social stigma of having a child out of wedlock in the 1940s. However, the truth eventually came out, leaving Bundy feeling confused and betrayed. This early experience of deception and hidden identity may have contributed to his psychological development. In 1950, Bundy and his mother moved to Tacoma, Washington. She married Johnny Bundy, a hospital cook. Johnny adopted Ted, but Ted always considered him to be his stepfather. Bundy's relationship with his stepfather was reportedly strained. He craved a closer connection with his biological father, whom he never met. This longing for a father figure and the lack of a stable male role model may have further impacted his emotional growth. Ted Bundy's reign of terror began in the Pacific Northwest in the early 1970s. He preyed on young women, often college students. Bundy used his charm and good looks to gain their trust. He would often approach them in public places, feigning injury or disability to appear harmless. Sometimes he would wear a cast or use crutches. Other times, he would pose as a police officer or firefighter. Bundy targeted women who fit a specific physical profile. They typically had long, dark hair parted in the middle, resembling his first love, Stephanie Brooks. She had broken up with him years earlier. It's believed that Bundy's crimes were fueled by a twisted desire to seek revenge on women who reminded him of Brooks. He seemed to derive pleasure from controlling and dominating his victims. Once Bundy had lured his victims to a secluded location, he would overpower them. He often used blunt force trauma or strangulation. Bundy took trophies from his victims, such as pieces of clothing or jewelry. He even kept Polaroid pictures of some of them. This macabre collection served as a reminder of his crimes and fed his dark fantasies. Ted Bundy's ability to evade capture was a testament to his cunning. He was first arrested in August 1975 in Utah. A police officer pulled him over for a driving violation. Suspicious items were found in Bundy's car. These included a crowbar, ski mask, handcuffs, and an ice pick. He was charged with aggravated kidnapping and attempted criminal assault. Bundy escaped custody twice while awaiting trial. First, he jumped out of a courthouse window. He was recaptured after 6 days. The second time, he sawed through jail bars and escaped. This escape allowed Bundy to remain free for weeks. During this time, he continued his killing spree in Florida. Bundy's escapes solidified his image as a dangerous criminal. They also highlighted flaws in the criminal justice system. His ability to outsmart law enforcement fueled public fear. Authorities intensified efforts to capture Bundy. They used every resource available to track him down. On January 15, 1978, Ted Bundy committed some of his most heinous crimes. He broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. He brutally attacked 4 young women in their sleep. 2 of the women, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, died from their injuries. 2 others, Kathy Kleiner and Karen Chandler, survived but sustained severe injuries. Later that same night, Bundy attacked another woman, Cheryl Thomas, in her apartment a few blocks away. Thomas survived the attack but suffered permanent hearing loss and a balance disorder. These attacks shocked the nation and sent shockwaves through the Florida State University campus. The brutality and seemingly random nature of the crimes terrified the community. The Chi Omega sorority house murders marked a turning point in the hunt for Ted Bundy. The police finally had strong physical evidence linking him to the crime scenes. Bundy had left bite marks on Lisa Levy's body during the attack. This evidence would prove crucial in securing his conviction. Section 6. Bundy on trial, a media spectacle. Ted Bundy's trial for the Chi Omega murders began in June 1979 in Miami. The trial became a media sensation. It was one of the first to be televised nationally. People across the country were captivated by Bundy's charisma and his ability to defend himself in court. He had dismissed his attorneys and chose to represent himself. This decision allowed him to control the narrative and present himself as intelligent and articulate. Despite overwhelming evidence against him, including eyewitness testimony, bite mark evidence, and fibers linking him to the crime scenes, Bundy maintained his innocence throughout the trial. He attempted to poke holes in the prosecution's case and even cross-examined witnesses himself. Bundy's performance in court while chilling only served to further captivate the public and fuel the media frenzy surrounding his case. The trial also revealed the extent of Bundy's narcissism and lack of remorse. He seemed to relish the attention and seemed more concerned with controlling the narrative than with expressing any genuine remorse for his actions. Bundy's behavior in court only solidified his image as a manipulative and remorseless killer in the eyes of the jury and the public. Section 7. Justice, Appeals, and Final Confession. In July 1979, the jury in Ted Bundy's trial returned with a guilty verdict on all counts. He was sentenced to death by electrocution. Despite the conviction, Bundy's case dragged on for nearly a decade as his attorneys filed numerous appeals. They challenged the legality of his arrest, the evidence presented at trial, and the competency of his defense. During this time, Bundy continued to maintain his innocence. He even gave interviews and wrote letters attempting to portray himself as a victim of circumstance. However, in the final years of his life, Bundy began to change his tune. He finally admitted to his crimes in a series of chilling confessions. These confessions provided gruesome details about his murders and offered some insight into his motivations. Bundy's confessions were seen by some as a desperate attempt to delay his execution. However, they also provided closure for the families of his victims. They finally had confirmation of Bundy's guilt and could begin to grieve their loved ones. Section 8. The Execution and Public Reaction. On January 24, 1989, after nearly a decade of appeals, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison in Stark, Florida. His execution drew international attention. Crowds gathered outside the prison, some celebrating his demise and others protesting the death penalty. Bundy's death marked the end of a long and terrifying chapter in American criminal history. The public reaction to Bundy's execution was mixed. Some people felt a sense of relief that justice had been served. Others grappled with the moral implications of the death penalty. Bundy's case sparked a national conversation about the criminal justice system, the psychology of serial killers, and the role of the media in shaping public perception. In the years since Bundy's execution, his case has continued to fascinate and horrify. His story has been the subject of countless books, documentaries, and films. While these works attempt to understand Bundy's psyche and the factors that contributed to his crimes, it's important to remember that they should never glorify his actions or diminish the suffering of his victims. Section 9. Remembering the victims, not the monster. Ted Bundy's legacy is a complicated one. He is remembered as a monster, a manipulator, and a cold-blooded killer. However, it's crucial to remember that he was also a human being. This realization does not excuse his actions, but it serves as a reminder that evil can lurk in unexpected places. It's also a reminder that we must be vigilant in protecting ourselves and our loved ones. While Bundy's story may continue to captivate and intrigue, it's essential to shift our focus to his victims. They were daughters, sisters, friends, and colleagues. They were real people with hopes, dreams, and loved ones. Their lives were tragically cut short by a senseless act of violence. We must honor their memory by working to prevent future tragedies and by creating a world where women feel safe and respected. Let us remember Ted Bundy's victims not for how they died but for how they lived. Let us honor their memory by advocating for justice, promoting compassion, and working to create a safer world. Only then can we truly ensure that their stories are not forgotten.